when I'm away from the screen.
Right.
And I think we have to confront the fact that the real shit that we're looking for,
Right.
the real gems and jewels that will actually make an impact in this world, are necessary for us to create a space for by turning off social media after we've received the divine inspiration or the beautiful meme or the beautiful live video. I think we all have to take self-responsibility to really check ourselves to, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself because it's an addiction we're all a part of, where we have to take a step back and go within, because we already have the mind being super noisy always and filtering our capacity to experience divine jewels, and that mind is filtered through all of the noise and static in the collective. And then the social media can be another exasperation of that lack of connection to our deeper silence, from which original new content comes through that can affect the world. And I think there's beautiful things to putting beautiful insights on social media, but I also think that people will see a beautiful post with like deep insight that came through that meditative journey, and it'll be beautiful, and then they'll keep scrolling and never think about it again and never integrate it. So it's just like an endless, it's not very efficient for actually integrating. So I think we have to think now beyond just the social media and the way that it's like, maybe I'll be seen, maybe I'll be heard. Get over that desire to be seen and be heard, and think about what I can actually do with this that might not be seen and heard in this moment, might not give me the instant gratification of a bunch of likes and feeling like I might be inspiring people. It might actually, how can I challenge myself to create something that will sustain and that will last and that will make tangible impact in the world beyond this social media cloud of just mental socialization, which is just like a cloud that's just up here, and it's like great, but it's like there's like just looping and looping and looping and looping, and these times are calling for us to be really embodied and really connected to each other viscerally, and really thinking more about like less about like how can I be seen by you right now and like validated that I'm an amazing, like there's a place for that. We all need to feel that so we can like have the confidence to actually be our full selves in the world. But there's also a time where it comes like, all right, cool, I'm like, I feel resourced by this connection, and by knowing this connection that I can like think even greater than that and think outside of just this little social bubble that we have, and like how can I really do something for the world? Because for me, honestly, nothing else is interesting besides
I'm
like,
in the same boat.
I think there's a lot of like, it can become a comfort mechanism where at first it can be healing and necessary to have fun and to experience good connection with each other. It can be a very necessary component to embody that way of community, but also it can be a way to escape or bypass or not confront the deeper responsibility we have for the global community.
So well said.
That we have. And I think that I just see that we're all going to need to step away from technology and really like get into the earth and really like be like, and really feel that sense of connection that this is showing us, that sense of unity, feel that without the screens, and just think in terms of like, what can I create, how can I share my gifts in a way that's not as selfish, to put it bluntly, and just really like, just kind of overcoming this adolescent phase we're all in, of like figuring out who we are with our own ego, and like there comes a point I think we're called into, or being forced into sooner than later, of like, actually it's not about me, like that deeper heart that's like nothing will satisfy if I'm just, it's a continuous loop, continuous scrolling, continuous posts, like doesn't get anywhere, and like just thinking more about our children and like the 1,000 generations to come, like you were saying, and like what we're doing today, because what we're doing today actually affects them. So just maybe imagining more like our children, or our children's children looking at us right now, and how we're conducting our days.
That's true.
And
that's the feeling.
We're responsible for where they're at. Thank God for our ancestors who put in the fucking work.
They did.
To get us to this beautiful place right now. And how are we actually honoring that? And that's a challenging question to face, because we don't want to accept that responsibility, because we don't know that we're worthy or powerful enough to even have an impact. So we kind of like reject that responsibility, and that comes with knowing our true power and our true effect, because and a lot of it's because we just haven't been met in community on a deeper level and in like a really simple level in order to feel like we are enough and we are seen and we are loved. But that's just like one aspect of it, is like creating the community. But I think it's we have to start to gather together and be like, how can we actually celebrate ourselves as a prayer for something greater? Like, I think
exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah, that's
thank you.
So well said. So well said. Brother Adi here, just sharing some deep wisdom.
Hey, it's the fam.
It's the fam.
What's up, family? Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just gosh, you really. I resonate with everything that you shared. And there is a really fine line to walk with social media, because we're connecting to it right now. And that means...
And I feel really good about what we're bringing through, because we're speaking to something that's goes beyond social media. That's speaking to... Yeah.
Right. And there's moments where we come to this in radical presence and authenticity with, you know, just like a beacon out there, you know, to put the pulse out there, like...
One thing that's just coming through real quick.
Yeah, say it.
It's just like, there's a way of being on social media where it's like, here I am, and like, I want to give you something that like, please keep feeding, like, please follow me and like me and love me, and let's just keep this like relationship going. And that's a way of like unconsciously keeping people stuck in this like egoic dimension of social media. Just like, here I am and blah, blah, blah. And there's a way of actually calling people into like, hey, I want you to go and do your life. Like, I don't care if you like come back to my Instagram tomorrow or ever again, and I don't care. Like, this isn't about this. This is about your life outside of this. And this is not about me and what you think of me. This is about you and like, and so there's just like a distinction, a subtle distinction there.
That's it. That's the fine line. It just
Are we supporting each other in continuing to be here in these loops, or are we encouraging each other to be more with life as it is off screen as well?
Exactly. And that requires like a lot of just paying attention to the energetics moment to moment that we're engaging with when we're on using these platforms. And like, I see why they happen. Like, humans want to connect. Like, that's a deep and beautiful desire that we have. And we live in a society where the conditioning is that it's not really safe to get vulnerable one-on-one for most people. They actually find that they can be more like, they can expose more of themselves by not having to sit in front of someone's face and do it, but post it on a post. And so there's a little bit of a mismatch happening. And also, you know, I see that, and I have to notice that in myself too, like the way that we pander to these this dimension of expression. And I do it sometimes. You know, I see my energy shift in the way I'm expressing. It's that like hype that is, you know, been gamified and commercialified. We've been commercializing our connection. And it's been done for us because it makes a lot of money, because the whole big data industry just became what it did. And so, you know...
these devices are designed to keep us stuck there, to keep us here.
Yeah, they are. It's been designed.
They're not actually designed to support us in creating a life of sustainable expansion.
Right. Well, and on the other hand, I think it's important.
They serve that purpose for sure.
Both purposes. Yeah.
But just for the deeper nuance of like the mindsets that create these and that are behind the scenes, we know they love money, and we know they get that money by keeping us here.
That's true. And it's also
so it's our job to know that this is a reflection of us. Like you said, it's a part of it, and that we are the creators of what this field is, and we have to create that together, a new culture of being on social media.
Yeah.
We have to create that together by acknowledging it not as the full picture, but acknowledging the realities of how it disconnects us also from the deeper responsibility at this time, and really upgrade our relationship to social media to like, how can it be something that we use to inspire a life of embodiment that is not addicted or dissociated to that instant gratification, external kind of like hooking kind of stuff that
Right.
is exacerbated all over the world in different external
Right.
material things, including social media. But we have to up the game and use this very skillfully.
Yeah, and to stay aligned in that, to stay humble in that, to stay honest with yourself about how you're showing up in relationship to this amazing tool. Because I don't want to just like completely bash social media either, because there's a reason
Totally.
that Gaia,
Of course not.
the planet, invented this through us.
Yeah.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, why did
It reminds
it
us of the
happen?
connection and that we're not alone.
Well, right, and like in forests, mycelial networks grow in order to connect all the trees. Like, they're a conduit for connection that's a little different than two tree roots touching, but it facilitates the ability for a tree 400 feet from another to send nutrients and love. And so there's like, in this, it's a great thing to have when you're living without telepathy and you're living with, but you still want the
Yeah.
connection, and distance is a factor.
But it's a journey towards telepathy, and telepathy innate technology internally can't be activated without a certain level of rehabilitation from dependency on the external technology.
Right, as long as we're gonna like put our power in the external, these types of things are showing up to meet that need for connection, because it's deep, right? We all want to meld and dance in a thriving way. And so I imagine it this way: like, if you planted a bunch of like, we're a bunch of like plants inside of pots. We're isolated. Most people are at home isolating for the most part, and when they go out, they wear a mask. When they go out, they don't talk to people. We're supposed to social distance. That's around the world right now. That's real, right? So like, basically in that paradigm, we're forced through these tiny tunnels of connection. Like, this is our tunnel, and it's got pixels on it. It's not the same. I can't touch your hand. I want to. Adi probably wants to too. Like, we want to, be in a real circle where we can actually just be in purpose. What is our purpose? How do we match make those that have gifts and desires to help in this time to be empowered to do that? And that requires us to go, if we are going to gather at a kava spot or the desert and we're dancing all the time, what if we sit down and shift that into it? And I know this is like that serious side, but like, hey, we're really blessed to be able to come together like this here. We're at,
so
and right
grateful.
now Gem and Jam's happening with 20,000 people. I'm praying that over there's some yurts and tents devoted to, like, you want to get involved and find your soul fam that's ready to step into purpose. You're maybe building a new thing to replace Instagram or Facebook. Maybe you're building a new way to like, build tree houses that are really cheap and effective, or create a network of spaces where all these makers and Jedis can come together. Here's your tent, like, get together there, and this is a container for that purpose-driven conversation. You can go dance out there too, but for those that feel this calling, we need spaces. Then that's a real strong feeling I have, is that maybe this is, and social media can be a way to call in, like, hey everyone, I know, I just want to reach out to all of you and say, let's meet at this space at this time and hold this intention, so that we can step into purpose together and actually start to like bring the masculine tangible element to it in the real like physical world, by drawing that spiritual dance and energy that comes from amazing like activation that happens when we're all embodied together, and magic. It's magic, right? It like feels magic when we're all dancing and connected. And and it's not useless either, right? We already like spoke to that embodiment, which is important, but also imagine if you could like if you could imagine a little golden beam between every two people that meet and are like, oh my gosh, I see you, brother, I see you, sister, I've been like, and you just met, and but you remember them, and you know their spirit's working through it. That beam, like, see that, and then imagine that across thousands of people. That's a relational architecture. That's a relational, like, almost, compound or DNA shape that is about to, I believe, those relationships as they grow stronger, so that it's not wasted time, is what I'm saying. If it was what it takes for us to come together and build trust and build, community, is to come around and come to these festivals and dance or these places, I think there's a shift happening where people like you, people like me are feeling like, okay, I don't want to just take another addictive hit of community vibe and then go back to the default world, the world that is like buried in this realm of like hungry ghost possessiveness and lack, and not being contributory toward a brighter future for 1,000 generations to come. Like, we still work at corporations, we're still doing these things while doing this inner work, and so it's like
I think
a complex thing to step out of it. And so we need to create a real,
and I think there's something about like
collective to face that.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, there's like a way of coming on and being like, hey, like, blah, 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 like, here's my social media persona, and it's like all beautiful and good, and it'll make you feel good for a moment. And that's like a beautiful, and here's a way to feel more connected to me, and then I think there's also a level of balance to bring through where it's actually like, what the fuck are we doing?
What the fuck are we doing?
There's also like that balance.
There is that. We gotta really look at it and be ready to confront that and like be confronted, I think, drop the pride. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I think we it's like, it's scary to share something like that, and as I ask this to myself, I want to ask this to myself more, and not be afraid of that, not become overly complacent and complicit. Like, there's two sides. It's all perfect, everything's beautiful, it's all taking its perfect process, and we're all very innocent beings doing good things. And also there's a level of, what the fuck am I doing? That's super important for my life. And I think if we all stopped for a minute, like caught ourselves scrolling or caught ourselves thinking about what people think about us, and like checking how many people viewed our stories, and like how people liked it, and like if we checked in with more like, what the fuck are we doing? I think that's actually necessary to bring back. And I'm speaking like to myself, because, and I noticed that when I'm actually in life, like in people, creating that deep connection and having that deep experience with the earth and with people, I'm not on social media. I'm only on social media when I'm actually not experiencing that deep embodied reality, and I want us all to experience that deep. But also we have some kind of level of allegiance that could feel relevant to the connections that are here, that and celebrating the fact that this connects us to all the people that we want. But like, what are we spending our time and our energy? I think we have to really become very discerning and very like guarded on like who we're actually connecting with, what content we're actually intaking, how much time, like, are we actually reaching out to those people and using this device to call up like those mentors, those people you look up to, those friends that will really support you? Or are we losing ourselves more in the collective, like,
this is
purposeful,
so important,
because it's so not organized. Just our feeds are not organized, so we have to be very discerning and say just in the ways that we would want to guard this world and our collective experience. And we want to make sure that like we're not being hijacked by like and seduced by like things that waste our time and distract us, and that are repeating old ways of dissociation. And we want to have boundaries with certain people. That has to be applied into social media. I think like strong boundary game, like coming on like, all right, I know this thing is full of this tendency to become disembodied and not actually attuned to the body's truth, but if we feel more the ways that we can get lost in association, continue to scroll, seeking for that hit of that beautiful post, that just in a few seconds the dopamine goes away and we never remember and integrate that. Like, what if we tune into our body, and what if I tuned to my body and saw that, oh, my body actually doesn't need that as much as my addictive mind thinks it does, and actually desires something much deeper, that embodied connection, that dancing, that in the body is necessary. This can dissociate us from the body. So the body is necessary in order to bring through the actual content, the actual streams of connection that are not so concerned about how it looks on the surface level in this moment, but more so like, because we're already feeling so sovereign and whole in ourselves in that moment with our body, Like when I'm most connected to my truth,
Mm.
I like don't care for social media, and I don't feel any need to be validated, and it's like, and I just want to encourage all of us to foster more of that behind the scenes work, and then use social media very consciously to create and put things in there that are of service, and but also like know when to back away, know we're not missing anything. We're not just because we're missing some connection right now, just because we're missing a beautiful night out at the Kava Lounge, we're not missing anything because we're gaining a greater, it's like sacrificing immediate gratification with a sense of connection in exchange for cultivating that connection with ourselves instead, which is more sustainably impactful for fostering a long-term connection that our grandchildren can experience. And I think we might be trading our capacity to create that inner connection inside that can sustain a deeper connection long term, that needs to, in order for those seeds to really sink in and our consciousness to really land, which takes time. It takes time for consciousness to land and for deeper expansive possibilities and inspirations to blossom. And that time gets short-circuited, I notice in myself, when I'm constantly every 5 seconds opening this, it like cuts off a stream that if I just sat with in my own presence could deepen into something that is much more long-term, expansive and blossoming.
I really deeply resonate with,
I'm totally a hypocrite. Like this is all I'm speaking to myself. This is all things I've just noticed within myself.
No, real talk. Like, and this is as real as it gets, because we're in the work right now. I mean, we're on social media right now, and so there is a time and a place, and there is a heart resonance. We both felt this was a good moment to drop into some sincerity.
Yeah, because we're coming from a place of purpose, and this to me feels great.
Yeah. It feels good.
Feel awesome about this.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. And we sacrificed some like hanging out with some friends back there.
Yeah, there's a whole swirl of like amazing humans here, and
creating something that's more impactful and on a deeper level, more connective.
I'm really glad that you stepped in with that, because I was actually feeling in there, and I shared it with someone. I was like, have I really been in my purpose while I've been in Sedona? Because that's why I come here. I don't ever want to come here just to play. I do want to have real relationships with people and not just be purpose without a heart connection, which does involve some play. It does involve some, like just humanness in that. And at the same time, like, I did come with the intention of like, I don't know, like finding people that are ready to create the next manifestation gathering or whatever it's going to be, or to gather around a clear intention to build together so that we can have a container where we don't need to be on social media. You walk out of your treehouse, tiny house, van, whatever, and it's an intentional hub. There's one spectrum of this that's about land. We need a place that's also, we got to look at like all the little facets of this like architecture map of the regenerative renaissance, the regenaissance, whatever you want to call it. It's here, and God is calling it in through us, and we gotta listen, and we feel it. Like I feel it when I'm there with the trees, like Adi's saying, when it's the silent moments in the desert, and you feel that calling, and you see the city below, you see the infrastructure below, and it's just this almost like daunting, how are we gonna get there? And yet at the same time, it's exciting. Wow, we have everything we need to get there. There's people with tons of resources and abilities, but how hard is it to come together and see something through without fizzling into a number of issues? And I'm seeing in this community, even like we have work to do internally too before this can really happen in a healthy way. I see people like in communities, you have everything from like women not feeling safe even in spiritual communities, like that energy is not being wielded in a really good way. And we have men and women, all sorts, feeling gossip, like the way it disperses is talking behind people, and then, you know, it's a whole hard thing to discern, and it scatters the energy and divides people.
Like I wonder personally how necessary or helpful or good is it to like show up to a night like this when I could be spending that night with myself,
right?
Bringing things that will create containers and foster that embodiment within me, and that manifestation of a container that's like way more powerful. And it feels edgy to say, but honestly, I'm not impressed at all with the Kava Lounge, and I'm not like, it doesn't feel fulfilling for me to really dance here. Like a handful of nights here have been like that. But it's not to shit on that. It's just in general how I feel about any kind of movement container that doesn't carry with it a strong undercurrent of like dropping in, because otherwise, like,
right, are we starting with prayer? Are we creating? Yes, it can be totally dissociative. People kind of just fizzle off into the night.
Yeah, it's like how deep connection do I feel is even possible? Like, how much deep connection do I feel when I'm actually there dancing with people? Very little. Very, very little. How deep connection is even possible to create in that kind of environment? Very, very little, because there's just not the energetic infrastructure, I feel. That's
so key, the energetic infrastructure, because I've seen it done well, right? Where we have a ritual container where we all envision the future together. Like, if you were to like call in this healed path,
like, do we even have time to dance without prayer?
No, we don't.
Is it even necessary?
Like, I'm only interested to dance with people that are dancing in prayer, and if we're moving,
and the dance is so much more juicy when we're in prayer.
So much better.
It feels like we're not, our body, which is like a multi-dimensional fucking vehicle for God's grace and power and intelligence, is not actually being danced fully if our, like, the level of grounding and seriousness and depth and intention that we came to earth here is not being danced.
Precisely.
Oh, thank you, Ava. So grateful for your presence.
Oh, Ava's here. Yeah. Oh, and presence. Bridge between it. Yeah, I mean, this place is a bridge.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, magic can happen anywhere. That's one thing I've learned, is like, even if it's a kava bar, even if it's a bar, like, we could form, you know what I wanted to do in my wish? Is like, I imagine this circle forming outside here in this like area outside in the parking lot, and this town, what I picked up, needs to have a moment for, like, first, like, without naming names and creating more gossip, like, the women to come forward and share their experience with the masculine and what's been hard and what's been beautiful examples, like where they were respected, other examples where it didn't feel respectful, or there's these like discerning things people are going through.
I want to speak on this bridge thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Totally. And what just come into mind right now is bridges are designed to cross. They're not designed to stay on and make a home there. They're designed to cross some kind of abyss, some kind of no man's land and so I'm just interested in crossing the bridge. I'm not necessarily, and we can dance while we cross the bridge. That's the point. We're dancing while crossing the bridge. But are we actually moving forward, or are we staying and on this half of the bridge that we came from? Like, I'm just really like, how can we keep moving forward? Because there's so much deeper we can go, and it's my own responsibility to create that. And I'm just reflecting on my own journey with that as someone that feels inspired to create the deepest possible containers possible, because I feel like that's what's, like, with the amount of work we're all doing and with the amount of awakening we've all gone through and invested in, like, it's a shame to not honor and create space for us to know permission to deepen into that and to expand into all that we are more and more. I just think we don't have the opportunities, the social infrastructure through which we feel like we can really honor the amount of awakening we've had. And it does require a deeper dropping in than this kind of old school culture of socialization as a means to actually dissociate and try to find connection out there. Like, the connection out there is never found if there's no connection deeper within here. And I think we all have that capacity, and we're all ready for it, and we all want it, and we all need it, and the earth needs it, and it's time. We've done that work to open the heart. And so now it's just for me, it's like being very discerning. All right, where is it pulling me out? Where's the energetic infrastructure more like, and how can I create something that invites more of this first, and really, so that's my own shit with no disrespect to the kava bar.
Yeah.
This is just what I feel really passionate about, is just completely evolving and crossing that bridge into a new way of gathering and dancing once and for all, to be done with that old school culture, because it is a bridge between the bar life and the next life, and I'm just like, let's
just go to the
hold
next.
The vision. Let's hold the vision. Let's remember where we're going.
Totally. And yes, that's it. Yes.
I love that. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Presence is here. Yeah. Pure love presence.
Love you so much,
love
brother.
You so much.
And really grateful for our time at the Kava Lounge. We had a really beautiful connection here.
See?
It's the last time I saw you, so
we're using like
and also I hope
tools
next time I see you that we can be somewhere even doper, because I want only the best for all of us, and I know how deep we can get.
Well, and it's interesting you say like these imperfect things like the kava bar. We could say the same about social media. Yeah. This is a bridge that we're dancing on, but we aren't crossing.
Right.
If social media is not used to be crossed into something that becomes meaningfully, tangibly, a space where healing can happen, where embodiment can happen, where we can manifest a greater, model for reality to be. Like, we need maker spaces. We need to empower people to do, to hold the kind of healing energy, the new medicine, the new wave of like fully aligned, heart-centered, bioharmonic technology, not biodissonant, not heart dissonant, not like taking away and disassociative from, respect and love and true connection. Like, that's the direction that if we can create intentional spaces for, that we can gather without phones, without all this, and like actually decide what, let spirit guide us. And that also means we need to like ground in and get specific. So like when you say like, I want to bridge into this space, like a part of me is like, I'm stoked because you're right. And I feel that fire burning in me, and it's been burning for a long time, and it's been burning in you for a long time. I know we're all burning and just longing to be back into this like beautiful, connective, and in ourselves and with others space that is like, that's in harmony with who we are. So like, what is your vision, Adi? Like, what are some of the things you're calling in when you see, like, okay, if it wasn't the kava bar, what do you see?
Yeah.
What do you see
what's coming through for me right now is, I touched on it a bit earlier. It just feels alive right now, is like this, like becoming comfortable, like this discomfort that we have with like raising our standards, and what if like there was more comfort around like saying like, this is not enough for me, like how, like what if like because me, I'm daring right now to say like, this is not enough for me. Like, I'm daring right now to say like, I actually want more than this. I know we can do better. And how often do we settle for just, this is fun, this is here, this is convenient? There's a balance of making the most of it in that. But what if we all got real with ourselves about the part of us that's like, I actually, like on my deepest level, I actually fucking deserve and desire something a lot deeper than this.
Right.
And what if we all got comfortable with like admitting that to each other and looking at each other, even if we're there and it's like we're making the best of it, and like, because often I feel like I'm kind of ruining the vibe if I kind of like, I don't want to complain if I'm like saying like, yeah, I'm like, I'm here right now, but I'm like not feeling fully, like I'm just not feeling like this is fully it right now. Like, what if we all became okay with that dissatisfaction and use that as fuel to move forward instead of cycling because we think, oh, this is as good as it gets? Like, what if we were like, no, we can do better, we desire better, and it's okay to have that sacred drive to strive for more? Because I think there can be a toxic settling, a toxic like, oh, it's all good, it's all but like, what about that discomfort of like, no, what are we actually doing? Like, we have the vision and we're like all beautiful heart-centered beings, and here's we're all, but like,
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing with it? Like, I want to feel it. I want to see you like in the work. I want to like, you know what I mean? And it's like Michael came up to you and was like, "What are you actually doing?"
Yeah.
And it's like, and you were celebrating, like, thank you for that energy of like brutal honesty.
Yeah, I got
rather than
super
just
confronted in
shitting
this
the
parking lot from my dear brother Michael Boyko. You know, he's just like, you know, I could tell there was energy there. Like, he was like feeling dissonance, and he had, you know, we hadn't like really connected while I was here. And I finally was like, hey, and like, he's like, hey, like, you know, you came here and spun this thing up and then left. Like, you know, the whole manifestation gathering, like, you know, you left, like, do you mean what you say? Like, are you really stepping up, or are you listening to your mind or your heart right now? Are you really where you need to be? And also, I love you. Like, I love you, and I don't want to feel this way.
And I got confronted by someone, a teacher of mine last night too, and she was like, I don't know if you're gonna like fully jump. I don't know if you're gonna fully like finally once and for all live and pander only to your own heart and do what needs to be done, without like falling back into old ways that are like in the moment, like, oh, this is what's here and like I can play with this, versus something that I know on a deeper level and those deepest experiences I've had with myself I'm actually here for, which is much grander than what the world has yet seen or known or is available. And
yeah,
it requires a lot of like getting real energy. Like for me right now in my life, I'm just feeling a lot more like all hands on deck, like in the spaceship, like like, and not just like dance party on the spaceship, because we can do that too for sure, we already know that, but like, let's steer this fucking ship. I'm all in, brother. Like, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Been like longing to hear these words spoken in sincerity by my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
thank you. Yeah. So like being okay with being a bit heavier, being okay with being a bit more powerful, being okay with being a bit more real, being okay with being dissatisfied.
Boom.
When I first ran into you, when I first met you before we came down here, you were feeling like that dissatisfaction and that like that seriousness and that, but I saw it contract you into apathy. And I think that's a trap we can fall into too, is we can take, and so I try to like wake you up out of there and be like, bro, like, you know, and just like wake up, like be free, be you. And then there's a place where they merge, where the seriousness, that freedom and that playfulness becomes a vehicle of openness through which our deeper seriousness can move through. But it's not about bypassing our seriousness for feeling good, because that's the typical escape that society is doing, where we go out clubbing and we go out drinking and we do all this to get away from our overly serious constrictive lives. But it's bringing that energy of work and of seriousness and bringing that through the play, so there really is no difference, because it is all a dance, but it is also all work, and it is all like freedom and joy and just meant to be celebrated. And also it's all here to be like, to stretch us and challenge us and force us into like the deepest part of ourselves. And I think it's okay to hold each other in a higher standard, and to hold ourselves in a higher standard now. I think it's time we grow up into more being okay with that. It's good to like release the expectations of the world that was hyper like pressurized, and be like, no, we're free, this is happy. But that's just one aspect of it, and that's why the hippies weren't sustainable, because they were just partying and having fun, but they didn't have the deep level of being able to sustain that energy and channel it constrictively, so it fizzled out because there wasn't the infrastructure ready in the world. But since those seeds have been blossoming, now there is like we have the access, we have the hippies and the dancers everywhere in all the fields of life. We have the scientists and the inventors and the business people that are awakening to this heart. And so I think it's time we all find that sacred vocation and that part of us that wants to serve and be a
sacred vocation. I really dig that. Yes.
Part of us that wants to do work and like not be afraid to really dig deeper into what that work wants to come through us. Like dig deeper into the concept of sacred work. like take and know that we are powerful enough, we are worthy enough, and just because in the past someone said, oh, your art doesn't mean anything, your art is valueless, or your expression wasn't honored, or your passion or hobby wasn't validated, it's like it is necessary, and it is the divine blueprint of what you're here to give the world. But we're afraid of actually owning the full power and potential that we have, because we're afraid it won't be enough, or we're afraid we'll fail, or it'll be rejected. So we don't even take on that responsibility to do something about it, because we're so scared of it being worthless and maybe amounting to nothing. So we just kind of skim the surface of our potential in order to not face the risk of actually putting ourselves out there and actually putting all of us into something.
Yeah.
That feels
true. That feels true.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm curious what you have. What comes up for you?
I mean, like, you know, I think we could kind of keep diving on this one, and also
we can riff, like you said before closing off, like what is moving through us, like what are we actually committed to?
Yeah.
What are we actually wanting?
Right.
Like what's the next level for ourselves that we're feeling?
Yeah. So like, you know, that's and I mean, I just resonate that we already have like, so many of us have that sacred vocation. There's actually a lot of people doing really good work, but they're, you know, in the business world, you say it's like you can have siloed departments that aren't communicating. So they're off like working on the same problem in 25 places instead of they even know about each other. So I do see an issue in our community of like siloed work, and there's ego in that too. Like the ones that are trying to build these like eco village and stuff, it's like, or build these new platforms for them, there's an element of like either they just don't know about each other's efforts, and there's like there needs to be this great mecca of coming together, I think, in some way. And you know, like, what is our plan? Have we ever seen it on a whiteboard? Have we ever seen like what are 10 different versions of it? How do we even interact with that and crowdsource the contributions to it? There's like that's that like technical aspect of me responding to that.
I want to insert in that is like, can we all make sure we have that whiteboard, and can we all make sure that we check in with our deepest possible vision or inspiration for what impact we feel like we desire to make in this life, no matter, and especially if it's way bigger than you ever, that you think you can even do. Like, can we all create that for ourselves of the highest way that we can use our innate gifts and our innate passion and love to make the greatest effect in the world? Can we all create that for ourselves? And can we all dedicate our lives to that? And can we all look to that board every day and be really real with the things that are taking us away from that, and settling for less because it feels too intimidating, or it feels like too much, or it feels too impossible, or too uncomfortable to really get rid of all the habits in our life that are straying us away from that, what is necessary to implement that? And can we remember that there's no greater satisfaction or fulfillment or purpose for being alive than actualizing ourselves as that infinite creativity that transcends any sense of limitation we've been conditioned to have about, about what we need to about what we're capable of, or about what's comfortable. You know, we think it's more comfortable to stay small and to stay, and there's even like a selfish aspect of this very innocent journey of like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on myself and loving myself and taking care of myself, making sure that life's good. But that's just one bridge. That's a bridge, and the other side of that bridge is being a vessel for life to radically serve and give onto itself and die to any sense of separate self in the process of serving something greater, which is actually the true self, which we're all here to actualize ourselves as in this relational field of interactive embodiment with the whole.
I almost want to just mic drop right there. Like, yes, brother Adi. Yes, brother Adi. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
That's the medicine, right? Like, this is a huge
and I'm speaking to myself, and I'm calling us all in as I'm calling myself in.
Thank you for saying that.
And me being transparent about this realness that I feel is me stepping up to the plate it's one process, and I risk the fear, the possibility of like being seen as not fully showing up for what I'm saying I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I risk that fear because what's more important for me is to be clear with what I'm actually here for, and risk being reflected that I'm not showing up fully for that, because I don't care about my identity and whether I look like I'm doing something or not doing something. I care about actually doing and being it. So whatever this has to do with my ego, like however this is like just me presencing in the field that what I wish to create, what I wish to be is someone that continues to share things that stress me beyond whether I think it's safe for my ego, and whether I think it'll give me a good reputation, and I want to and I want to risk all of that in being connected to this drive within me to create. I want to create more. I want to create these spaces. I want to create these containers. I want to create these events. I want to create these places of love you, of dancing and praying, and of getting real, and of dropping in, and I want to be seen as claiming that, so that my ego doesn't have as much room to hide from what I'm actually here for. Yeah. Sacrificing, yeah.
That's a beautiful thank you for your beautiful declaration, brother.
Yeah, and I want to share more from this raw place of challenge. I want to share more from this place of challenging myself and the world without feeling like I need to overly coddle myself and others, because I think we need more of that energy that calls forth our deepest capacity to show up for this time, because it's go time. In case you haven't seen the world lately,
it's go time. I know, go see the world, like, and that's something for Sedona, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the medicine here, and I hope you share that medicine here, because I'm trying to share that medicine here. I'm coming from Seattle, right? And like, sometimes I'm like, y'all don't know what you have. Like, you are sitting on like the crystal jewel of freedom and, virtue and magic and potentiality to set an entire new blueprint for the whole world. It's closing in. Like, this is like the one place, like Sedona, one of the few places where I've seen this. It's not the only one, but there's few, and these cities of light. And not to say that it's not without issues. There's lots of like shadow work that could use some light shined on it, and some really solid containers to ritualize conflict resolution, to ritualize basically like making a safe space and an open container for radical authenticity to come forth from the masculine, from the feminine, to every different aspect of human that's here, and because we know we're doing something greater than our human stories. We know we are here to walk in prophecy. It's that big right now. And those of us that know that, that's the question. Like, we go back to, like, what are you doing? What are we doing with that giant gift? It's so deep, it's so big, and it's so present in the eyes of the people here, in the hearts of the people here. And there's just this like spark of catalyzation. It doesn't take a lot to create these containers here. You just put up a freaking poster over like text message and everyone shows up. So you like these visioning spaces, it doesn't take much. And because people are ready. And I think what's cool is, like, as we step into that, as you step into that, Adi, like, and all of you incredible leaders here really step into, like, that's what I'm amazed by, the density and of incredibly leaderful, virtuous hearts and spirits that are living here. And I just, I also implore you to step into that gift, put that thing out there, and your people are here. Your angels are here. They will show up. We all know why we're here. I hear every conversation acknowledging it. And so what it takes is just like this brave step to go forward and offer that gift, and people are doing the best they can, and we're still living in a monetary system. We still have these challenges, and we can overcome them together. There's so much resource in the world. There's so much. There's grant writers. There's people that have like pitched massive multi-million-dollar businesses and know how to do that. Like, all the little pieces are here. We have what we need. It's about like creating those collective intentional spaces, and like I'm stoked that you are anchoring that here. And it's kind of like funny and ironic that like Adi gets here the day I'm leaving. He was in like up in the Northwest while I was here. We're just like ships in the night, but holding that pillar wherever we go. And I know so many of you are holding that pillar. Come together. I pray for you to come together.
One last thing I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Is and it doesn't all have to happen right now, the physical manifestation. Like, we don't have to all the events and all the things and all the external infrastructure to really be that perfect thing doesn't have to happen right now, and won't happen right now, because what is more important in order for that to happen is for us to actually take more steps back into cultivating that inner being and that inner devotion to our work behind the scenes, so like, it's okay if not everyone feels called or inspired to gather right now in person physically all the time, because I think something that's really important in order for that way of coming together to be sustainable is for us to begin to detach more from current ways that we're socializing or communing that are not giving us the proper time to really sit with ourselves and figure out what we actually do want to bring, what we actually do want to create. So I think I honor the time needed to actually drop in deeper into ourselves, and really, before just rushing to do the external manifestation of what will support that as a collective.
I just want to give credit to the fact that a lot of people have done a lot of deep work, and I feel a readiness in them.
Totally.
I'm actually feeling that readiness, but that's also true to stay in tune with where that work still needs it needs time. Because
true unity can't come without sovereignty.
True.
And many of us are still there's like, we talk about codependency in one-on-one relationships. There's also collective codependency, where many of us still have trouble fully dropping in and being with ourselves, and we need that constant social simulation or sense of connection in order to feel like we're a part of something, without truly anchoring into that deeper belonging, that deeper vision that extends beyond the current social satisfaction. So yeah, just more of like, how can we come together today in a way that will affect the next 1,000 generations in a more powerful way? And in order to really cultivate that, I think there has to be continuous introspection on these.
I just want to also respond, Jocelyn. Thank you for participating in this, and all of you, just like, thank you for being in this space with your presence. You so much. Like, you're
all the
felt,
work you're doing, and
you're so felt.
everything.
Like, this is a really powerful container that is magic and reaching through space-time to you, whether this is now or in the future, that this is being seen. We're in this together. These relational threads, these golden threads that weave us are so sacred.
Yeah, thank you to those doing the work behind the scenes, also that aren't
the unseen, the unknown, the ones that aren't.
Like, that's the prayer of gratitude, and keep it up. Like, thank you.
Thank you for
doing that work,
sending that energy to you
that will sustain and carry us forth long term.
100%. And Jocelyn, I just want to respond to your question, which was about like, where do you see other cities of light?
Nevada
City, Arcata, check it out. Oh my gosh.
Ashland, Oregon,
totally. Seattle has its pockets, and remember that I want to differentiate. Portland has pockets, but Asheville, North Carolina.
Yep.
There's places in Florida I'm hearing about where a lot of work's happening. Yeah. The one thing I will caveat here is there's a lot going on, as we know, geopolitically right now around sovereignty, body sovereignty, that not all states are protecting that. So what's really a special thing happening in Sedona is that there's like a statewide collective protection of aspects of sovereignty. I mean, we're in here connecting, and we didn't present a card to get in. We didn't have to wear a mask here. There's a lot of like that embodied energy able to flow, which, you know, for some, full respect to whatever sovereign choices people have. But I come from Seattle where, you know, we don't really have the option to gather in an embodied way with like this and take what is perceived as a risk to humanity to come together without masks and just do it that way. For us, the greater risk is to not come together. And so like the more, you know, the deep calling can be really followed more easily in places like Sedona, in places like around Flagstaff. I'm sure that the community exists. But
and in regards to that, just that concept of like where are all the hubs and bubbles, some part of me hates to go to these bubbles and see that it's just a bubble. I hate to see that people are just there.
Yes.
And I think the natural way that we're all meant to realize ourselves and realize our community is by opening that bubble into holding the global vision. And I think our creativity is designed to expand as largely as possible, and our connections, our intimate connections, are designed to expand as largely as possible in their effect. They're there to like keep expanding. So I just wish that all these bubbles all around the world weren't so focused on the bubble and like that social satisfaction and instant gratification, which is stunted when we don't realize that it's all actually in service to a greater global village that's happening and is easy to talk about, but we often don't stretch our capacity to really acknowledge our capacity to connect to and to create in service to right now. Like we don't see ourselves as being that powerful and that connected. Or we at least don't live like that.
So I mean, I want to say something about this though, and I respect that feeling too, because I think a lot of us
I just see so many powerful beings that are so capable of like and just don't.
But we don't. But we're actually inefficient at like getting organized together. It just comes down to there's simple logistical things. We need to retool ourselves. We need to like, you know, if we are going to use, you know, social media and communication tools like Telegram, etc., can be used as a tool to facilitate that. Totally. It's imperfect, but it's a bridge.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's making such profound progress over the past decade.
Oh, huge.
Profound.
So like, if we can use these in virtuous and aligned ways and really get it, like all that came before in this conversation that Adi has spoken to is so important to this, which is like being in discernment with how we're using these tools energetically. And if we can like key into the true energetics of like bringing and meditating first on that gift forward and saying, hey, I would like to collaborate, I would like to find support because I find overwhelm in trying to bring this vision to life. I'm looking for support from my community for the specific thing. That's where manifestation can really work, when we get specific like that. And that can happen inside of digital containers, but it can also happen inside of actual physical containers. So we just need to create more of these. This is my feeling, these containers. And I know this is what Brother Adi is sharing here too. And I can only imagine that you're resonating too, because this is not my thought. This is not Adi's thought. This is our sweet planet desiring this, and it's coming through us because we're cells within her. We are her or his, or not to genderize the planet because maybe that's oversimplified, but like basically this new vision for a healed body of the planet wants to come through us humans, and we each have a little part to play. And I think if we can get specific and we can use our tools in aligned ways, and we can use our communications that are purpose driven and not just like more static, but really move toward this purpose, and we like dedicate a month. Let's just dedicate February to purpose. Let's like dedicate it, you know, like do that with your communications, do that with your ideas, put them forth. What's that specific thing? Take the leap, the dared leap to call in that thing that you might have been, you feel in your power to see and really believe you can do it, but maybe you can't do it alone. Maybe you need others to complement you in that bringing forth of the vision.
Yeah, we have to stretch ourselves beyond where we think we've been thinking it's safe or possible to go. And then the resources come, but we have to be in that tension of like, oh, this might be too big, it might be too exposed here. And Jocelyn,
asking if we have any events
Darrick
together.
is leaving tomorrow morning, and I just landed here.
And
so
Lionijah in Sedona, but yeah.
I won't be having nothing tomorrow, but we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, man, I feel so called to this, and I know Adi this is like a special resonance that you're coming back to Sedona with. I want to just like affirm, brother Adi here, you know, you're bringing some really important medicine to this community, and it's something that I just respect. I respect, and I'm grateful for.
Thank you, brother.
I'm grateful for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
And to all of those resonating at that frequency, go find each other.
And
Like,
also, like,
if there isn't an event, make one.
Yeah, I feel inspired to start creating events and things, and I also feel inspired to attend less events and to spend more time with myself, cultivating what I'm actually creating, and knowing that the time I spent cultivating this energy right now and these visions, the more I can do that, the more I'll be able to share. So I think you're right. Let February be a month in devotion to purpose. Let the whole year be a month in devotion to purpose, because we have this privilege right now of kind of feeling like we can still like flow and all this and that. But very soon, I think within the next few years, it's not gonna feel like that. So I think it's gonna be like, oh shit, it's crunch time.
Well, it already feels like, oh shit, it's crunch time.
Right.
Yo, in Seattle,
so if we just like,
dude, this is crunch time. Like coming down here, it's like it is a bubble. It's definitely a bubble. Like everyone needs to get in a van and just take a quick look at what the world is right now. If you're like in one of those special bubbles like Sedona, but
remembering how many people are suffering out there in the world and how much medicine we have to offer, that gets us out of our head. It gets us out of our self-consciousness to remember that that the world, like the love and who we are, is like such medicine for like 90-something% of the population. And we can get so caught up in our own, like, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not perfect enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not healed enough, I'm not powerful enough. But just give, share, and don't be afraid to think infinitely and expansively, because if we know ourselves to be connected and at one with this infinite expansive universe, then this shift of consciousness is demanding that we no longer downplay our capacity to stretch ourselves into more seriousness in our ability to impact than we thought before. Like I really think we have to really stretch our capacity to that we underestimate our capacity to actually influence the world and be all that we're here to be. I think we're all so powerful and so capable.
We're so powerful,
and I think we don't give ourselves enough credit to take that seriously, and so we don't give ourselves a chance to really step into that work that we're being called to do, and instead settle for less, and instead settle for playing around and with all this, all these loops that are just a lack of realizing that we actually do impact the world and actually are promised a really powerful way of manifesting heaven on earth and generating abundance that's regenerative for ourselves, if we commit ourselves to something expansive. So we can't settle for less right now. I don't know. It just feels very important.
It's time. It's just time to dive in. Love you, soul kin. Love you, soul family. Thanks for flowing with us. This was a long and beautiful
Life
one.
is short. This time is short.
This time is short. It's special. We're in a magical dimension that we can make even more.
The more we
beautiful.
open ourselves to the infinite, the more the infinite can come through us.
Truth.
The more we see ourselves and our capacity as infinite, the more the infinite can come through us. That's the only way to actualize our infinite selves, is by thinking infinitely. That's the only way to actualize our full expansive selves, is by thinking more expansively than our ego thinks is safe or possible. There's nothing else that we can do or are here to do.
And this crazy challenge of 2022, this crazy world, it was perfect though, because it got us to like this point. It got close enough to our door. Allow it to evoke that like purpose-driven warrior, that lion-hearted love, like all those things where we got this. So just
whatever is necessary to wake us up.
That was what was necessary.
It's like shit's gonna keep
how else would your
hammering.
soul get to know the will, the like heart-driven will?
Totally.
Without
because we're not that good at listening
exactly.
and not that good at taking responsibility for what is needed. So it's like shit didn't have to get this crazy and this fucked if we were better at listening and believing in ourselves. But let this be the time where we remember.
Well, now that you know,
because there's always that underlying sense of urgency, even when we forget how fucked shit is. If we actually tune into the levels of fuckedness in the world, then we'll feel that there's always that divine motivation, inspiration. That's always like, yes, I'm here for you, right now, right here. No reason to be bored. No reason to be unmotivated.
Yeah.
No reason to be like think that you can just get away with like pulling the same old bullshit habits that you've been doing for forever. It's like everything is here, but we have to remind ourselves this.
Adi, let's hold each other to that.
Yeah.
I want you to confront me.
Yeah.
I want you to confront me when it's time.
Yeah.
I'm digging confrontation lately from love, right?
Like,
when
I just
people
want to
can
leave this
confront me
planet
from
knowing
love.
that I've done the shit that I could possibly do. That's at this point, that's what I want.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
so let's just do it.
Yeah. And what were you saying?
Yeah, no,
fighting from love.
Yeah, just
totally.
like I want my brothers and sisters to confront me where I need to be confronted, because I'm ready. I feel strong. I'm ready to hear the medicine. If you can come from love and I can come from love with you, to you.
Yeah, what are we co-creating?
And let's call each other in to our strongest selves. Like, let's give that support. You know what I mean? And where there's like dissonance, let's not like turn away from each other. Let's just name it. Let's name it. Let's know that we have our own stories. We're releasing them. We're embracing in a deeper level of collaboration, because it's what is going down right now is way bigger than each human story and each ego trigger. All that we got a big, beautiful job to do.
We are way more valuable and powerful and impactful than we think. And
Boom.
We're here to support each other in seeing ourselves as that. Because the world depends on it, and that's the love we're here for. Greater than the old social games we've been playing of seeking validation from each other. Like, I want to be someone that I can validate you and all you desire to be and do for this world, and because we're here to remember family as a whole and to be that.
Love you, family.
And
Love
we're doing it. We're doing it. You're doing it. Let's do it.
Like a
Let's
decade
commit
in the future.
Looking
Do the hard
back
work.
at us now, I'm just seeing that and seeing like, yes, we're doing it. Like, there's so much that we're stepping into, and we're doing this together. We're holding ourselves in this together.
I love you, Soul Family. Thanks for staying.
Thank you guys so much.
And thank you. Honor you for being here.
Thank you. Like, honoring the divine purpose that you came here, that you chose here to come here. Honoring the deep warrior of power and creativity that it came into this world with, like, fucking, like, because you could do that shit, because you had that desire and that purpose. Like, honoring that deep being that has already brought so much love and light to this planet through undoing all the curses and epigenetic bullshit passed down through generations, and breaking that. Honoring you for doing that, and holding you and knowing yourself as that. And stepping up as a leader for this time, honoring us as like this sacred superhero team of service, because it's time to be that, and we are that. And
avatars,
so
Jedis,
even
rising.
If we haven't been seen in that power by our environments, but I just want to let my family know here that I see y'all as these divine warriors of this deeper purpose of creating family and love and showing the way. And I want you to know you're welcome. To feel fully expressed in that sacred purpose, and fully supported in that, because it's real shit. It's real shit.
This initiation gets real, and you're gonna go through a messy process. I'm going through a messy process. He's going through a messy process. We can hold each other in our complexity, like show up for the complexity of your brothers and sisters, your fellow community, because and have that compassion, lift them up, see the deepening of themselves come through. Like, don't, rather than squash each other when there's something that you see that's out of alignment, like call in, see and meditate, give love to the higher self, get to the integrated self. And where there's capacity, invite reflections with people that invite discerned reflections and receive them with discernment and with, a lack of pride, but a deep love for yourself stepping up. So, okay, like we could just keep flowing, but
hey, thanks
for being here at like
thanks us all
almost 2 a.m.
calling us all in. We're all calling each other in. Life's calling us in.
Yeah,
we're calling you in. Thanks for calling us in. I'm excited to answer the call with you guys in this divine, perfect moment.
This guy.
Where we get to really be the bridge for the next billions of generations to come.
Be the bridge. Love you.
Love y'all. Call in culture.
Boom.
Ring, ring, ring.
Okay, how do we like make this thing not disappear? What do you do now?